Hello there, and thank you so much for joining me today, your host, Joseph Massey, for this tutorial on how to make exceedingly good bouquets using Cymbidium orchids. In our time together today, over the next 20 minutes, I aim to share with you a full tutorial on how I make one of my sexiest Cymbidium orchid bouquets, and then a few further tips of how to work with Cymbidium that will hopefully set you on the right track to Cymbidium glory. Let's start off by taking a look at our floral materials, and then we'll dive into the techniques. Let's begin. For our floral materials today, we're going to start off with some beautiful branches of magnolia. We'll also be using some gorgeous fluffy hydrangea, some beautiful spray roses, a brand new clematis, Sevilla, the first bicolor from Marginpar, and some beautiful Cymbidium. I'm going to be using two sizes of Cymbidium in today's project. We have the largest Cymbidium, this beautiful candy, as you can see here. Such a gorgeous Cymbidium with really beautiful distinctive throat in there, really contrasting against the gorgeous pale petals. And I'm going to be using a miniature Cymbidium as well, Ryad, this fantastic gorgeous complementary bloom, which I think will just work so gorgeous against the fantastic candy too. So with these two Cymbidium as the stars of our show, let's dive into taking a look at our techniques of how to make a very beautiful contemporary commercial bouquet. Step one in our process is to use some fantastic magnolia branches to give us a backbone. Now, when I work with Cymbidium, I find that a fair bit of support can be needed to keep those stems upright and to protect them from any damage. We're going to start by taking our magnolia, remove any leaves from the bottom third of the branches, and then we're going to start to spiral them. That is by keeping our central stems in the middle. The stems on the left of our bouquet will go over the central stem, and the stems towards the right of our bouquet will go under that central stem. So we have a gorgeous little handful looking a little something like this. With our foliage form in place, it's now time to add in some hydrangea. We're going to be using this beautiful cotton candy hydrangea you can see here, a fantastic, beautiful, soft pink, which I think will work so well against our Ryad and candy Cymbidium. Now, I'm going to continue to spiral the hydrangea as I add them into this bouquet. Any stems on the left, of course, they will go over the central stem, and any stems towards the right of the bouquet go underneath. You'll note that I have more hydrangea towards the bottom of the bouquet than I do towards the top, and this is so that my proportions are in check. I have more volume towards the base, and it's going to taper off elegantly towards the top of our bouquet. Now, time for the main attraction. Here we are with one fantastic stem of candy. I'm going to insert that directly in the center of my bouquet, keeping that stem relatively straight, and I'm going to double up on that using two stems of candy to really provide a fantastic focal point to my bouquet. I mean, doesn't that look fantastic already? And we really only have two types of flower in there and a little foliage. Now, before we go any further, I want to share a little top secret tip with you. Now, I often hear from some of my students that when you are making larger bouquets, especially using big, heavy, gorgeous luxury flowers like Cymbidium, sometimes the bouquets can be a little heavy to hold, right? And your hand can ache as you're making them. My top tip is to be sure to tie off the bouquet regularly as you're making the bouquet. Not only will that give your hand a chance to rest and a chance for you to give it a quick little discreet massage, but also it means that you have a greater chance of holding all of the flowers in position where you want them. So just take a piece of string or a piece of twine, whatever you prefer to tie off your bouquets with, and just steadfastly tie those stems together in position and then trim the string. Doing this top little tip will enable you to have more confidence in the bouquet that you make, plus maybe give your hand a rest as you're making it, which is never a bad thing. With our bouquet in position and all our stems exactly where we want them to be, it's now time to add in some beautiful spray roses. Now, what I'm going to do with my spray roses, as you can see here, is remove nearly every single leaf from the stem, and you can be so sure that I've also removed every single thorn from the stems as well, making my life a little bit easier. As we know, all the tips to a really good bouquet begin with good preparation. Here you can see me placing the stem directly into our spiral bouquet. As these heads are going on the left half of the bouquet, we're spiraling the stems over on to the right, on top of the existing bouquet. And you can see me adding the roses in such a way here. Oh my gosh, how great is that looking so far? And it really only has a handful of stems in. Now that I feel we have all of our key players in place, let's look at adding in a little bit of nuance and a little bit of detail. Now, when it comes to accents, it doesn't get any better than some fancy, delicate flowers to do the job for us. So here we have some beautiful clematis, sevilla from marginpar, which I'm just going to actually group together in a little bunch. I have about 4 stems here, and I'm just going to bring that through the bouquet and then add it into my spiral. Now, the bouquet we're making today in this first project is, of course, very commercial. It's a bouquet that you could sell up and down the country and across Europe and across the world, indeed, to all of your wonderful customers. For our next accent, we're going to be using some Ryad miniature Cymbidium, which we're going to tuck in just to the right of our bouquet, and we're going to finish at the very front of the bouquet using a little bit of magnolia foliage, just like so. Now, once you are truly satisfied with your bouquet, every stem is in position exactly where you want it to be. We have our gorgeous Cymbidium acting as the star, supported with our hydrangea, our roses, and our clematis. It's now time to bind off your bouquet one final time. To do this, we're going to take a length of string. I am going to leave around 6 inches hanging south of the binding point, and then I'm going to slowly wrap the string around the binding point, going a little bit tighter every single rotation. Once I've done maybe 5 to 6 rotations, the bouquet is feeling nice and tight, I'm then going to put 2 knots in that string, securing it firmly in position and holding my stems so tightly and so steadfastly. Once we're done, we have a bouquet that looks a little bit like this, stunning from each and every angle and tightly bound in a wonderful spiral. And just like that, we have our finished bouquet. Doesn't this look so, so beautiful? Finished with a little bit of delicate wrapping. We have our flowers looking absolutely sensational with our Cymbidium orchids at the forefront of this design. As mentioned, we have used a couple of different types of flower in this. We have our Cymbidium, our hydrangea, our spray roses, our clematis, and of course supported with a little bit of magnolia foliage. This bouquet is what we may call a contemporary or a front-facing bouquet, which I'm sure you could sell in nearly every country in the world because it simply looks so gorgeous and so full, and it's the perfect way to show off your Cymbidium stems. We have 2 gorgeous stems of candy, that's the larger pink Cymbidium right in the center of the bouquet, surrounded by other florals and then accented by 1 stem of Ryad, the fantastic miniature pink Cymbidium that you can just see towards the bottom of the screen there. The bouquet is contemporary, it's grouped, it's front facing, and it would look stunning in any home or any office or any situation where you seriously need to impress someone. We have finished this bouquet with a little bit of packaging. We have some frosted cellophane and some white tissue paper, so we've kept that really sleek and really simple. Nothing too over the top and nothing to detract from the actual beauty of the floral materials that we do have in position. You can see here a little bit more detail. We have our Cymbidium orchids rising high within the bouquet. Going down next, we meet our clematis and we meet our hydrangea before going right to the base of the bouquet with some spray roses. Now, all of these materials are a similar tint tone shade of pink, right? We have some subtleties across the bouquet, but it's really the orchids that draw the eye because of that fantastic contrast in the throat of the Cymbidium. Let's now do a little deep dive into some of the finer aspects of this bouquet. First things up, let's examine the style of this bouquet. Now, the style of this bouquet here, it's contemporary, it's front-facing, and it's incredibly commercial. What I really wanted to do with this style of bouquet and with our time here today together, I wanted to show a design that I know could be sold across the country, across the continent, and even across the world. It's so important that when you're designing for your clients, you keep your clients in mind. And with a luxurious, affluent bouquet such as this, Cymbidium are the obvious choice to use in these bouquets. They have fantastically gorgeous long stems, rich colours, and a sublime vase life. Cymbidium can last for weeks on end, and really, they don't usually suffer too many problems either. They're one of those steadfast flowers that you can use in a multitude of different environments, and you know they're going to deliver an excellent result for you. So while the style of this bouquet might not be the most out there, might not be the most crazy or the most different or the most unusual, the style of the bouquet we've chosen is absolutely intended to be 100% commercial, and that is very much what we've kept with the construction of our bouquet today. The next aspect I want to take a moment to dive into before we move on to the other tricks I have up my sleeve is the choice of flower. Now, obviously Cymbidium are incredibly luxurious blooms, right? By their nature, they're a little bit more expensive than your average flower, so you want to use them in a way that shows them off, and this bouquet does exactly that. I've decided to pair this with a selection of other quite beautiful blooms. We've paired it with premium blooms such as hydrangea, Clematis, roses, and even the foliage we've chosen is, of course, a little bit more luxurious. Magnolia is not the same as pistache for that reason. It has a more lucrative, stylish finish to it. My advice would be to adapt this bouquet for your own market. If you don't necessarily like the materials I've chosen, that's no problem. Feel free to mix them up and create bouquets that work for you in your location, in your business. That's exactly what this is all about, taking the inspiration we provide here and making it work for you and your designs.